Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Nipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Donald Trump demands investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's ties with former Democratic President Bill Clinton. Justice Department to fulfill the wish. India celebrates Tribal Pride Day today to commemorate 151st birth anniversary of the freedom fighter and anti-colonialist Birsa Munda. National Democratic Alliance sweeps Bihar Assembly elections with no opposition in near sight. BJP emerges as the single largest party, Janata Dal United finishing a close second. And in sports, world number 2, Yannick Sinner reaches semi-finals of ATP tennis, comfortably beat Ben Shelton 6-3, 7-6. On to the details now. US President Donald Trump said on Friday he wants the Justice Department to investigate links between the Jeffrey Epstein and former Democratic President Bill Clinton. Well, the move comes 2 days after a congressional committee released thousands of documents that raised new questions about Trump's relationship with the late financier. Along with Clinton, Trump also demanded the Justice Department and FBI probe banking giant JP Morgan Chase and ex-Harvard President Larry Summers, who served as Clinton's Treasury Secretary. There was no immediate comment from Clinton. Summers, JP Morgan Chase, which is 2023, agreed to pay $290 million to settle a class action lawsuit brought by victims of Epstein, its former client. Now, while 9 in 10 Republicans say they approve of Trump's performance in the White House overall, just 4 in 10 say they approve of his handling of the Epstein files. Meanwhile, Donald Trump said on Friday he knew nothing about an email from Jeffrey Epstein. Trump's response came while he was departing for Florida. His departure came hours after the U.S. Justice Department said it would fulfill his request to open an investigation into Epstein's connections with former Democratic President Bill Clinton. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Jay Clayton, the top federal prosecutor in Manhattan, would lead the probe. The announcement followed the release of thousands of pages of material that raised fresh questions about Trump's past dealings with Epstein, who died by suicide in a Manhattan jail before he could face trial. And the United States will test nuclear weapons like other countries do, President Donald Trump said on Friday, but declined to say if the plans included exploding a nuclear warhead. Well, aboard Air Force One, Trump said U.S. will do nuclear testing like other countries. Trump last month ordered the U.S. military to immediately restart the process for testing nuclear weapons after 33 years, making the surprise announcement on Truth Social while aboard his Marine One helicopter flying to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping for a trade negotiating session in Busan, South Korea. And in the United States, nearly 24 people were arrested as faith leaders protested on Friday outside a federal immigration facility near Chicago. This is the latest sign of tensions over the Trump administration's aggressive enforcement push. The ICE Center in Broadview has become a flashpoint for Chicago activists opposed to President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown in the city, a Democratic stronghold that limits its cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Now, since Trump intensified ICE operations in Chicago in September, demonstrators have regularly clashed with the authorities, who have fired tear gas, less lethal rounds, flashbang grenades and pepper balls. Now, the latest standoff came as a separate federal judge ordered a group of 13 alleged immigration offenders detained by ICE in the Chicago area to be released. And the G7 foreign ministers reaffirmed the importance of a free and open Indo-Pacific based on the rule of law, stating their strong opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo, particularly by force or coercion, including in East China Sea and South China Sea. The ministers meeting under Canada's G7 presidency in Niagara issued a joint statement highlighting their shared position on key global security challenges, foregrounding regional security and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific, while outlining connected concerns on Ukraine, the Middle East, Africa, migration, security concerns in Haiti, Sudan and Eastern DRC, maritime security and global economic resilience. Also, they all condemned military assistance to Russia by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and Iran. The ministers criticized the provision of weapons and dual-use components by China, calling it a decisive enabler of Russia's war, and reiterated their support for President Trump's comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict. Now, the discussion concluded with a focus on economic resilience, energy security, and critical minerals. And in a latest update on Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia launched a drone and missile attack on Ukraine on Friday, killing 6 people in Kyiv and 2 more in the south in strikes on energy facilities, apartment buildings and infrastructure. Now, the officials said most of the drones and missiles were shot down, but falling debris and fires damaged high-rise apartments, a medical facility and administrative buildings across 9 districts in the city of about 3 million. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine used long Neptune missiles on targets in Russia, while Russia's Ministry of Defense said its troops hit Ukrainian energy facilities and weapons production complex with high-precision weapons to respond to Ukrainian attacks on Russia. And UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemns missile and drone attack by the Russian Federation on several Ukrainian regions. Now, they are unacceptable and must end immediately, he said.
The Secretary General strongly condemns today's large-scale missile and drone attack by the Russian Federation on several Ukrainian regions, reportedly killing at least 6 people in Kyiv and 2 people in the city of Chormonovsk. They are unacceptable wherever they occur and must end immediately. The Secretary General recalls the principle also of the inviolability of diplomatic premises. The Secretary General reiterates his call for a full, immediate and unconditional ceasefire as a first step towards a just, comprehensive and sustainable peace in Ukraine, one that fully upholds Ukraine's sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized border, in line with the United Nations Charter, international law and relevant UN resolutions.
And moving on, Brazil's COP30 president on Friday promised to find a way to increase the host country's delegation at COP30 after a meeting with discontented indigenous people. Alongside his government's ministers for the environment and indigenous people, André Correa do Lago met on the sidelines of summit in Belém with representatives from indigenous communities after members of the Munduruku people staged a peaceful sit-in that blocked the main access to COP30 venue. Now, throughout the summit's first week, indigenous people have complained about the relative absence in the negotiations and discussions, despite the fact they are considered the Amazon's guardians and stewards. However, Brazil's Minister of Indigenous People, Sonia Gujarada, said that of the 1,200 accreditations allocated to Brazil, 400 were for indigenous representatives. And the UN Security Council has renewed the peacekeeping mission in Abyei, the disputed region between Sudan and South Sudan. Also, the mandate for UNISFA, which includes about 4,000 personnel, has been extended until November 15, 2026. The U.S. drafted resolution passed with 12 votes in favor and 3 abstentions, Russia, China and Pakistan. The Council warned that future extensions depend on concrete progress in the region. UNISFA troops continue to focus on protecting civilians amid recurring clashes in the oil-rich border zone. Now, the area remains a flashpoint as both nations claim the territory. And the U.S. Southern Command has released images of the Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group operating in the Western Atlantic Ocean. The deployment ordered by President Donald Trump last month adds to warships, a nuclear submarine, and F-35 aircraft already positioned in the Caribbean. Commissioned in 2017, the Ford is the U.S. Navy's newest and largest aircraft carrier with more than 5,000 sailors aboard. Now, the Pentagon confirmed its arrival, saying the mission aims to disrupt drug trafficking and dismantle transnational criminal networks. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro claims the U.S. buildup is intended to remove him from power, warning of mass armed resistance if intervention occurs. Venezuela is meanwhile preparing decades-old Russian-made weapons and planning guerrilla-style tactics in anticipation of any U.S. attack. And Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro delivered an anti-war message to the people of the U.S. on Friday as he closed the international jurist meeting in defense of international law in Caracas. He made a call to understand the magnitude of today's international challenges.
It is to the people of the United States that I speak to at this moment before this 100 jurists from 34 countries to say stop the insane hand of those who order bombing, killing and bringing war to South America, to the Caribbean. Stop the war, no to war.
Well, the US FDA has issued its highest safety warning for the Duchenne muscular dystrophy gene therapy, Elevidys. The regulator also narrowed its approved use after 2 teens died from acute liver failure following treatment. Elevidys can now only be prescribed to working patients older than 4. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a fatal muscle wasting disease mostly affected boys. Sarepta had already halted distribution to non-ambulatory patients after the deaths and paused shipments during an FDA review. The new label recommends weekly liver monitoring for the first 3 months of therapy. And Disney and YouTube TV have reached a new multi-year distribution deal, bringing back all Disney channels for subscribers. Under the new deal, Disney says its full lineup of networks and local stations has already been restored on YouTube TV. Now, the company has also confirmed that ESPN's new unlimited streaming service will be included for subscribers at no additional charge. The move aims to offer viewers more sports and entertainment options without raising monthly fees. And Los Angeles was hit by steady rain on Friday as 2 back-to-back storms moved across the region. Forecasters say the storms will combine over the weekend, bringing even more downpours. Downtown Los Angeles could experience 2 to 4 inches of rain, while some areas could witness downpours up to 8 to 10 inches. Officials warn that the rains could trigger mudslides in areas burned by January's huge wildfires. The storms are expected to ease by Sunday, but more rain may return later in the upcoming week. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. President Murmu leads the nation in honouring Birsa Munda on Janjatiya Gaurav Divas. And Google unveils $40 billion Texas expansion to power US cloud and AI growth. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, at least 20 people were injured in a massive accidental blast that shook the Nowgam police station in Srinagar on Thursday while an FSL team was inspecting a large consignment of confiscated ammonium nitrate. Now, the explosion occurred late at night during an examination of the explosive material in the presence of police officials who said the blast took place accidentally as samples of the material were being collected. At least 20 personnel were injured in the blast, of which 7 are in critical condition. The Deputy Commissioner of Srinagar, Akshay Labru, visited the hospital to meet the victims injured in the blast, with further details awaited. The threats of the November 10th Delhi blast are linked to objectionable posters in the Nowgam area of Srinagar, for which an FIR was registered on October 19th. Meanwhile, investigation is ongoing for the Nowgam blast. And India is celebrating Janjatiya Gaurav Divas of Tribal Pride Day today to commemorate the birth anniversary of the tribal freedom fighter and anti-colonialist Birsa Munda, born in 1874. President Draupadi Murmu will pay floral tributes at the statue of Bhagwan Birsa Munda at Prerna Sthal in Parliament premises in New Delhi. Since 2021, November 15th has been celebrated as Tribal Pride Day to honor the sacrifices of tribal freedom fighters. Now, the tribal communities played a crucial role in India's freedom struggle through various revolutionary movements. The day honors the history, culture and heritage of tribal communities with nationwide events promoting unity, pride and recognition of their significant contributions to India's freedom and progress. Bhagwan Birsa Munda, who led the revolution against British rule, became a symbol of resistance. Bhagwan Munda's leadership inspired a national awakening, and his legacy is deeply revered by tribal communities. Also, a national-level celebration of the Tribal Pride Day will take place in Gujarat's Narmada district on Saturday. The event will be held at Dediapara, where the Prime Minister Narendra Modi will unveil development projects worth over 9,700 crore rupees of the central and state governments. As part of the celebration, the Prime Minister will visit the revered Devmogra Dham, nestled in the Satpura Hills, to worship the goddess, who is deeply revered by the tribal community. Travel artists from Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Gujarat will welcome the Prime Minister in their traditional attire. Also, National Democratic Alliance clinched a major victory in Bihar Assembly elections 2025, with BJP emerging as the single largest party, securing 89 seats. Janata Dal United finished closely behind BJP with 85 seats, while other allies of NDA also showcased impressive results. Meanwhile, the opposition Mahagathbandhan, consisting of parties like RJD and Congress, faced a significant defeat. Well, at the BJP headquarters, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the victory celebration, stating that the people's mandate reflects their desire for true social justice.
जय श्री राम। यह 200 एनडीए की 4 सीटें जो आई है, ये ऐतिहासिक है और यह इसलिए हुआ है नरेंद्र मोदी, नरेंद्र मोदी, नरेंद्र मोदी, नरेंद्र मोदी, 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 मोदी। अपने नेता का किस प्रकार से स्वागत अभिनंदन केंद्रीय कार्यालय में हो रहा है। कार्यकर्ता स्वागत और अभिनंदन कर रहे हैं। मोदी, नरेंद्र मोदी।
And moving on, Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi is hosting the 14th of 44th International Trade Fair. India's Minister of Coal and Mines, G. Krishan Reddy, inaugurated the Ministry of Mines Pavilion at the India International Trade Fair, New Delhi. G. Krishan Reddy's inauguration drew attention to the recent achievements of the Mines Ministry, showcased through exhibits inside the pavilion. This year's theme, Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, highlights the nation's unity and diversity. This year, Bihar, Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh are participating states, with Jharkhand has been chosen as the focus state. The fair will also feature 12 foreign exhibitors from countries such as the UAE, China, Iran, South Korea and Egypt. The 14-day fair will be open to trade visitors for the first 5 days and to the general public for the remaining 9 days. And the Department of Defence Production has set up a dedicated pavilion at the 44th India International Trade Fair, which is held at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The pavilion highlights the significant transformation achieved under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, showcasing the growing strength, innovation and self-reliance of the defence manufacturing ecosystem. The pavilion was inaugurated by Union Ministers Jitendra Prasad and Sanjay Seth. The DDP pavilion aims to enhance awareness about India's indigenous defence capabilities and promote collaborations across the industry and connect with the general public as part of its outreach initiatives. And the Indian Armed Forces have successfully concluded the Tri-Services exercise Trishul 2025 on Friday. It was a large-scale joint exercise led by the Indian Navy in collaboration with the Indian Army and Indian Air Force. The major focus of the exercise was to enhance synergy between the armed forces and validate and synchronize multi-domain integrated operational procedures across the three services. Now, the exercise featured large-scale operations across the creek and desert sectors of Rajasthan and Gujarat and the maritime domain, including amphibious operations in the North Arabian Sea. Now, the Indian Coast Guard, Border Security Force and other central agencies also participated in the exercise, reinforcing interagency coordination and integrated operations. Now to some business news now. Google has announced a massive $40 billion investment in Texas to expand its cloud and AI infrastructure through the year 2027. The funding will build new data center campuses in northern Texas, strengthening Google's long-standing presence in the state. The company said the investment aims to support Texas workforce and ensure the U.S. retains a strong AI backbone. Texas has become a hub for tech giants, attracting firms like OpenAI, Meta, Tesla, Oracle and Samsung. Google is also launching a $30 million energy impact fund to help communities manage rising power demands from data centers. Now, the company recently said its 2025 capital spending could reach $91 to $93 billion, driven by large-scale AI ambitions. And Wall Street closed mixed on Friday as traders awaited Nvidia's quarterly results and worried the Federal Reserve may delay a December rate cut. Stocks rebounded partially after an early session sell-off that sent all major indexes down over 1%. Investors remain concerned about slow rate cut prospects and high valuations of major AI stocks, driving recent market gains. Now, shares of Nvidia, Palantir, Microsoft and Tesla all advanced during the session. Expectations for a 25 basis point December rate cut have dropped below 50% amid persistent inflation linked to part to President Trump's global tariffs. Now, the S&P 500 slipped, the Dow fell sharply and the Nasdaq edged higher ahead of Nvidia's results due on Wednesday. And on to some sports news now. While number 2, Yannick Sinner comfortably beat Ben Shelton 6-3, 7-6 on Friday to complete a perfect group stage in his ATP Finals title defense. It took Sinner 1 hour and 35 minutes to defeat Shelton. Sinner will next face Alex de Minaur in the first semi-final on this afternoon. If he wins it, it will be the third final for the Sinner, as he will be setting up the possibility of a finals shutdown with his rival number 1, Carlos Alcaraz, who will face Canada's Felix Auger-Aliassime in semi-finals. And the Wrestling Federation of India on Friday revoked the suspension of Paris Olympics bronze medalist Aman Sehrawat and rising talent Neha Sangwan. Both wrestlers had been suspended after exceeding their weight limits and facing disqualification at the World Championship and the World Under-20 Championships, respectively. The WFI decided to lift the suspension after receiving apology letters from the athletes and consulting with the country's top coaches. With this decision, Sehrawat and Sangwan are now eligible to compete in upcoming events, including the Asian Games next year. And also, South Africa were bowled out for just 159 on day one of the first day against host India at Eden Gardens. Jasprit Bumrah delivered a sensational spell, claiming his 16th test 5-wicket haul. He was well supported by Kuldeep Yadav and Mohammad Siraj, who picked up 2 wickets each as India seized control in front of a packed crowd. South Africa's openers began aggressively but faltered once Bumrah struck, dismissing Ryan Rickelton and Aiden Markram. Kuldeep's spin and Siraj's late burst ensured no recovery for the visitors. In reply, India lost Yashasvi Jaiswal early, but KL Rahul and Washington Sundar steadied the innings, closing at 37 for 1. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.